Hello and welcome to a new retrospective where today I'm going to be talking about the Sega Master System version of Alien 3, which was produced by Probe Software back in 1992. So this is the first Sega Master System game that I've covered in this series so far, and the Sega Master System was another platform which I eventually picked up for my birthday back in 1992, back in November, and I was extremely lucky to get hold of a Master System at the time because consoles weren't particularly cheap, especially the games coming out. So I remember my mum, I was kind of saying to my parents how much I really wanted to get hold of a NES or a Master System, either to play Super Mario Brothers or Sonic and so on. And mum was in the sweet shop one particular weekend and they were selling off Master System 2 bundles for like £25 or £50, which had Alex Kidd built in. So she snapped one up and told me about that I was going to get this console, and I was really excited. And around about the same time, my dad also, there was a friend at work who was kind of selling off his Master System games to kind of fund and go towards getting a Mega Drive, a new Mega Drive setup. So I remember getting this list of games I could pick from, about 20 or 30. Yeah, it's quite a massive collection at the time, and I was allowed to kind of borrow 10 to see what I thought, and then I could pick 5 out of that 10 to keep. My dad would pay for it, and I think they were being sold for £5 each, which is really good at the time. So luckily, when I got this Master System 2 on my birthday, I had kind of an instant collection straight away, which is brilliant. With some classics such as Wonder Boy 3, I think R-Type, My Hero, and a couple of others. So it was a great time. Psycho Fox as well, of course. Can't forget Psycho Fox. All great games. I possibly will do some retrospectives of them in the future. So the reason why I'm covering Alien 3 is because this was kind of introduced to me by a friend called Justin, who was a massive Sega Master System nut. And I knew Justin from primary school, and it was sort of towards the end of primary school that we used to get talking about computers and games. And he told me about the Sega Master System and how much it was a great console and how brilliant it was. And what he used to do is he used to bring these adverts in, like you can see here, showing all the various games that you could get on the platform. And I used to look at the graphics thinking that it looked absolutely amazing, arcade quality, especially like Double Dragon and R-Type just looked fantastic up there. And when we weren't kind of arguing with each other about which was the better machine, the 64 or the Master System, we used to kind of sit through these adverts that he had and circle the games which we were kind of really excited and really wanted to play, and we'd sort of imagine what they were going to be like. So Dynamite Ducks was one that I really I liked the look of, and Wonder Boy, and my friend liked Alex Kidd and Shinobi World and so on, and we used to just kind of talk about games quite a lot. And he used to kind of always, when I was looking to get a console, or talking about the NES or the Master System, he'd kind of try and badger me into getting a Master System because, you know, then we could swap games and between us as friends and stuff, which is that kind of appealed to me quite a bit because Master System games were about £20 to £30 at the time, so I couldn't always. There were a lot more to get than a full price C64 game, for instance. So it's back in sort of the beginning of 1993, back in January, that just after Christmas, Justin had turned around and said that he'd been bought Alien 3 over Christmas. I think either he had it on Christmas Day or he went out straight away with his Christmas money and bought it. And he kind of brought the manual out to kind of show us, and we're looking through the manual and seeing how the game played, and it sounded really, really cool. And I kind of managed to convince him to sort of come up, bring the game out and bring it up to my house so we could play it on my Master System. And this is essentially what we got. So I'm going to try and unpause it now. Here we go. So it's Alien 3 in a fairly loose sense, as such that it doesn't strictly follow the film plot at all. So if you've seen Alien 3, you'll know that the film has a single alien in it. So Ripley is crash landed on a prison planet with all these prisoners who had their heads shaved, and she has to have her head shaved as well. That's why hence she's got this really stark image of being completely bald. And essentially you've got one alien that's managed to escape on the ship with her, and you have to kind of track it down. She has to track it down and destroy it. But when sort of Probe were given this game, I think although Alien, the original game, had been done really well by Mind Games or Argus Press back on the C64 and other 8-bit platforms. That works really well because as a strategy game, there wasn't really that kind of game on the Master System. I mean, you had Populous that had a really decent conversion, but the console games were more about action games mostly, so that's what the kids wanted really. So Probe decided to kind of ditch part of the story and make it so you had multiple aliens that you had to kill, and they made this game where you have to kind of run around these different maps, save a certain amount of prisoners before the timer runs out and get to the end. Very nice and simple action game with lots of guns and lots of blowing up aliens and stuff. And actually it works extremely well. It's a really good decision by them because it actually makes it a pretty decent game. And it's a shame actually in a way because the film, quite a few people think the film is pretty dire, and I didn't particularly enjoy it compared to Aliens. I loved the fact there were tons of aliens to kill in the second film, and maybe Alien 3 might have fared a little bit better if they'd done the same kind of thing. But anyway, so Justin brought this game around, and I hadn't really played anything like this before on the Master System. I hadn't really seen the action run and jump sort of games. I wasn't disappointed at all. So here we go. Here we've got Ripley, and you have a number of different weapons. So here I've got the machine gun, and I can change to a rocket launcher and a flamethrower. Didn't time out very well. And then what we have to do is kind of run around these levels and save these prisoners as quick as we can. Let's try and show the rocket launcher as well. That's not going to work. Let's try and get him down. So the nice thing about this is that you can shoot slightly upwards or upwards completely to knock aliens off the wall, which if you go underneath they'll sort of collapse onto you. But I still like the range of weapons that you could pick up. The rocket launcher is one of my favourites, or grenade launcher. A little bit slower to launch, but it does an instant kill for you. Let's go back to the machine gun. So that's all of them saved. So if you're not used to the map, like I am at the moment, because I've played this for many years, the time can run out pretty quick. It's quite a tight timer, but it's nowhere near as tight as the C64 version, which you'll see a little bit later on. So I think this came out on the Mega Drive first, and then was later released on the Master System a little bit later. The Mega Drive version is classed by many to be the best version out of the two, or out of all the different versions by Probe. Probably is, but I kind of have I think I just got the soft spot for the Master System version because it's the first one I played. I like it a little bit because it seems a little bit quicker as well. Maybe because there's less animations or something, I don't know. It just feels a lot faster to play, and I kind of prefer that. The SNES version is a little bit more in depth, from what I believe. It's a completely different game really, and isn't just about kind of running around saving prisoners. I don't think. I think there's a puzzle element to it as well. And I mean, in hindsight, although I do love this game, it does get a little bit boring after a while because you kind of are doing the same thing essentially. Every level is about saving prisoners within a certain time limit, and then maybe destroying like a large alien boss at the end of every couple of worlds or something, or every couple of levels. And I've run out of machine gun ammo. What was it? Okay. But if you just kind of want to switch off and tune out and just do some mindless blasting, then this is a really nice little game. Really, it's quite a lot of fun. I'm gonna try and jump over this guy. I've got a machine gun to shoot them off. Can I shoot them? Let's torch them. This bit where the face hugger goes on you. It's quite... Need to get back to machine gun quick. Yeah, face huggers are pretty neat as well, I thought. And I think the Game Boy game as well, again, is a very different game. It's like I think it's a top-down sort of puzzler type or RPG sort of game, adventure game, I think. What can I shoot? Come on. That's better. Let's try and get these down. So I love that little slide. So yeah, I mean, most of the variety is in the changing the backgrounds between the different sort of sections of it. I think there might be introduction of different enemies, but that is about it. Essentially, it's the same kind of theme. Run around, find the prisoners before the time limit ends, and then move on to the next level. So if you are after something really in-depth with a lot of variety, and you might be slightly disappointed with it, but if you don't mind a bit of mindless blasting, then give this a try by all means. So I think I've gone back to the beginning. So yeah, this game had a C64 conversion by Probe as well, which was slightly surprising because the 64 was kind of on its way out. So it was due to come out in 1992, but got delayed because ImagineWorks were going to release it on the 64, but then Robert Maxwell sort of fell off his boat, and ImagineWorks kind of closed, and then eventually it got picked up by Virgin Games, but not until sort of mid to late 1993. By that point, the 64 had completely sort of died out, really. So I'm going to run out of time. There we go. Nice little graphic engine there. Okay, I think that'll do. There you go, and you can see where the last prisoners were. Yeah, so by the time the 64 version came out, it was a little bit too late. It was around about a time where we had our last sort of like couple of little games come out for the 64 commercially before it finally sort of kind of died out commercially. So we had Mayhem, Monsterland, Lemmings, which was late as well, and also Alien 3, which were reviewed pretty much around about the same time, or sort of ended 1993. And at the time I was kind of a little bit bored of playing Alien 3. I used to borrow this a lot off my friend, so I wasn't particularly fussed about picking it up. I instead decided to kind of concentrate and pick up Lemmings, which I hadn't played a huge amount of, so I got that instead, and also Mayhem Monsterland as well, which at the time, that was the game you had to get. It was like the best game that had come out on the 64, long before the likes of Sam's Journey had ever appeared. But as a result, because it was quite hard to find, it meant trying to find it in later years was extremely difficult. I mean, I never, in the shops that were still selling 64 games, I never saw Alien 3 on the shelves at all. I think you had to get it over mail order. Maybe only a handful of independent shops actually stocked it. So these days, trying to pick up a copy is very hard. You have to kind of go onto eBay and hopefully you'll kind of find it on an auction at some point. But trying to find a disc version is pretty much nigh impossible. I don't think anyone's actually claimed to have a disc copy at all. It only seems that they released a tape version for some particular reason. So I don't know. That's still something that people are looking out for. I don't know if there's going to be any particular differences between the tape and the disc version. They're probably not. But it'd be one of those kind of things you need to try and find out in case there is some kind of hidden sort of in between screens or something. Okay, so I might call this quits in a minute, see if it's... Yeah, so it's going to be more of the same. So it's the same kind of theme all the way through. So I'm just going to finish this here. So I'm going to show you quickly the C64 edition, just to kind of show you a bit of a comparison. So it wasn't until later years that I managed to pick this up, and just thanks to the internet that someone managed to kind of get it preserved. So must have been in some shops for people to pick up, and it's not a bad conversion at all. It's okay. It's not quite as fast as you'll see as the Master System edition. Okay. So this is by Michael Archer, who did a pretty decent conversion of Altered Beast on the C64. I mean, I know a lot of people don't particularly rate that as a good conversion, but I kind of thought it was alright and it looked pretty decent. He did Atomic Robokid as well, and I think he might have done Slain and Nemesis the Warlock, I believe. It's a shame that this didn't come out during 1992, so it could get appreciated by more people. A lot of people kind of missed out on this conversion, and it looks very decent within the sort of lower resolution and more limited colours. But as you can see, it's a little bit more lethargic compared to the Master System version, with the scrolling and the general sort of movement. I mean, it would have been very nice sort of to have something a bit more fast, like Turrican 2 sort of speed, sort of running around shooting aliens. But for what it is, it's decent. The only thing is, it's quite easy to get knocked down by the aliens when they fire the acid at you or sort of jump at you. You don't get much of a chance, and that kind of, because you keep constantly getting knocked down, it makes it a lot harder because the time is quite tight already. I don't think I can shoot up at. Can't shoot directly up as well. You have to be pretty quick to get the alien before he kind of jumps at you and knocks you down annoyingly. So as you're probably going to see in a second, I'm not going to have enough time, and I'll probably just fail right at the last ladder. Let's see how we get on. Okay, one more to get. But we've got countdown now for the last minute. I think we're goners now. And that's not going to help at all. Just keep shooting, I think. That didn't help at all. Right, here we go. So we've got to get a move on. We've only got 20 seconds. It's going to be very tight. No, not a chance. I think to be fair, there's difficulty settings on it, so I think that adjusts the time slightly, so I could make it really easy and complete it. But there you go. That's the C64 version. So obviously I prefer the Master System version because it's a lot quicker and zippier. It looks better, and I mean I even prefer the Master System version to the Mega Drive edition because it feels a bit faster as well. The Mega Drive version looks absolutely fantastic. The animations are really good, but I think the animations maybe slow it down a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, if you get a chance and you haven't played it before, I recommend checking it out. Don't expect too much from the game. It's just a fun sort of switch your brain off sort of blasting game, which is quite a bit of fun. It's got a nice set of tunes by Matt Furness in the game as well, which are worth having a listen to. And yeah, every time I play this game, it brings back a lot of fond memories of when I used to kind of have a Master System along with the 64 and swapping games with my friend and sort of borrowing each other's games and kind of getting excited about new stuff coming out. It was a fairly exciting time for the Master System because although the 64 was dying out at that point, the Master System had quite a bit of a resurgence. It was seeing a lot of conversions from the Sega Mega Drive coming out. Lots of different games such as Desert Strike and Fantastic Dizzy and that kind of thing. And that kind of lasted way into sort of 1994, I think maybe even 1995 time. And even today, the Master System has quite a big following in Brazil. I think it's Tectoy. I think it was the company that kind of brought the license to the Master System, and they still, I think, release games today for it. So yeah, if you haven't played it before, check it out, and I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I'll speak to you again soon.